So a little bit over a month ago or so, Loudoun County Times published an article under the byline of their reporter, Evan Goodenow. I think it's Goodenow. I'll show you here in a minute. In which Mr. Goodenow talked about the sting that the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department had conducted. The sting netted a number of people in that operation, and with the usual and customary boilerplate uh, verbiage that Goodenow puts in there, he, of course, fails to ask some of the most critical questions of police uh, regarding these things. And we've asked over and over again, as you've heard on this channel and other places, what's going on? Why won't you reporters ask some of these other really important questions that have to do with people's liberty? It seems like reporters are certainly on the police side when they do their reporting and they really don't delve into it. You don't need to be a detailed investigative reporter to go to one of these meetings with police or one of these public forum where the police are standing at the podium talking about all the terrible people they got to ask them some really basic questions about the stings based on what some of us have been saying about these things. And, unfortunately, it would be nice if they would listen to people who are relatives or who are concerned citizens who are speaking out, but they don't listen to them. And they certainly don't listen to us caught in the stings because, of course, we're already tainted and, we couldn't be telling the truth about anything. So, how are you going to actually figure out what another angle might be if you don't actually delve into it? So, I want to share with you my response and my correspondence with the gentleman. Here's my email. And in here you can see Evan Goodenow, and you can see that I contacted him. This is my email address, which is on ICAC Unpacked here. And you can see the article I referenced, the May 5th article. And I go into a very lengthy discussion about all of the issues that we have with the stings. And I go through and I ask him, did you ask, how do you know that we're going after real children? Did you get to see what the police have been saying about it in their public comments versus what their actual chats, where they often bring up sex, where they often are the first ones to approach the victim, the first ones to bring up sex. When I say the victim, I'm talking about the adult that they net in the sting. And, just all the things I talk about on my channel and that we across the country are fighting. And of course, what the police do is, what the journalists do is absolutely nothing. They don't actually do any of this. I asked him at the end if he wants some information about this, and I offer to provide him with some, and I explain exactly where other police have been caught lying all over the country. And his response to that, and also provide him some other evidence of other YouTube channels where we are exposing this. And his response is hilarious. He says to me, clearly did not read the article. He says, Norman, the reason we write computer sexting stories is because the allegation is the suspects are coming to Loudoun County to have sex with people they believe to be children. Yes, I understood that. That's why I wrote my response there. I don't think he read what I wrote. If you have proof of entrapment, please provide it. Well, okay. First of all, proof of entrapment is very, very difficult. Entrapment is very, very difficult. Okay, because entrapment requires, it's a legal defense. It's often called an affirmative defense, where you have to admit that you had guilt. And of course, the common public understanding of entrapment is the police did something to, in the word of the federal statute, induce, persuade, coerce, or entice is the fourth one, right? And if police induce, coerce, entice, or, basically push you to do something in there, then that is often the beginning of where you would look at entrapment. But entrapment has an objective test that some courts use, Other courts use a subjective test, subjective versus objective. Some use a little bit of both. And increasingly, because it's a very challenged area, I think, of the law, and this is my personal view of it, very often courts are starting to not take any kind of entrapment defense where the words sex, minor, and online seems to come into play. There's just a zero tolerance, meaning zero understanding of what's happening, and much deference given to the prosecution and the police. Remember, the prosecution has most of the cards in the United States. I know we learn how the defendant has rights, and the defendant, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and all these very highfalutin standards, which, when it comes down to it, really isn't like that. Number one, if you're caught in a sex sting, you are guilty until proven innocent. Now, that's not what they officially say, but that's how they treat you. Okay. How do I know this? Because, among other things, they press out to the public a news release very breathlessly and very quickly saying that you were accused of doing this thing. And not just you were accused, you did this. It's very assumptive. Okay, they shouldn't be allowed to do that. But the idea the courts have bought into as well, they can do that because they want to protect all these other people. The right of the public trumps, so to speak, the right of the accused. And of course, that's not the way it's really supposed to work, but that's exactly what happens. And you put in that position where you are completely lost. So, one of the counterbalances to this egregious predisposition toward guilt is for a journalist to do his or her job and to say, as Reason.com has done, among others, Stephen Yoder, who's an independent reporter who works for a number of outlets, including The Appeal, when they investigated this, they didn't find exactly what um, the police would have you know. They found that there were great discrepancies at a minimum in what the police were saying. And the police were not as forthcoming. They were very, very, very gregarious and very, very forthcoming with the information they want to put up there. And you start drilling down into it, like, what did you say to the people that supposedly got them in the stings? What chats are you using? There's allegation, oh, police commissioner or police chief, that you guys are leading the conversation. Yet you're the first one to bring up sex, that you start out as an adult on an adult platform and abruptly say, oh, by the way, I'm 15 or I'm 13. Or they starting to lower the age below the age of consent in a lot of states, which is 16, so that they can entrap you. They also use very deceptive language. The Bloomington police chief, for example, referred to a 17-year-old girl as a little girl. Well, I don't think there's anybody who thinks that a 17-year-old near woman is a little girl. Okay. But, and by the way, she wasn't handicapped in any way. She didn't have any issues that would lead you to believe that she was cognitively impaired and unable to discern whether somebody is making sexual advances onto her. Nevertheless, the police do what they do, and the journalist's job is to uncover that. But in fact, they haven't done that. Now, I responded to Mr. Goodenow, and I gave him a number of resources. You probably saw them at the bottom of the page there, and I've yet to hear back from him. He wants some cut and dry evidence of that the police entrapped, in, I guess, the legal sense of the word. It's hard to know. I've sent him 2 emails requesting more information of what he would like. I sent him chats that the police use, but I still haven't heard anything back, and I probably won't. Many of us write to these people complaining about this, and they are happy to rake our names over the coals and throw it out there and help the police damage our reputations. But when it comes to actually doing a little work and understanding how these things work, the public, it cannot rely on the so-called free press to do their job. And this is why we have democracy in the position we're in right now, in part because of 2 main reasons, in my judgment, which is too many people don't take their citizenship responsibility seriously, and too few journalists are out there really investigating what's actually going on. Because remember, they work for corporations that run these outlets, and if they're interested in drilling down into it, they are thwarted at the editorial staff level. And if they're just interested in keeping their job and not working too hard, digging deep in there, they're not even going to respond to you. So this is Norman Michael Isham with ICAC Unpacked. Have a good day.